All large accounting firms in Christchurch, the Big Four, and the somewhat smaller Grant Thornton, BDO, Staples Rodway and the like, operate on a broadly similar basis. As they were all fond of telling us during the fortnight of intensive information evenings in the Undercroft and careers fairs, each firm ensures that a graduate joining them is assisted in gaining their chartered accountancy, and it was the individual culture of each outfit that made the difference. As is the case with most accounting, the core principles are often much the same, regardless of the name of the business or the number of zeros on the ends of the numbers you're dealing with. As it is my intention to spend at least 3 years in one of these firms after I graduate, it seemed pertinent to at least take a brief look at the structure and functions of them before I go mindlessly wandering into a job. I will focus chiefly on Grant Thornton for this presentation, as it was the firm which interested me the most when I was applying for internships and graduate positions earlier this year, and it was also the firm who had the most talkative staff who I spent the most time speaking to at their information evening. All of the information I present in this presentation was attained from either speaking to those present or from the website or the brochure we were given at the time. I will conduct this presentation with a view to answering the question, what is the composition of accounting work in a professional accounting practice accounting firm operating in Christchurch in 2015? I will outline the basic structure of Grant Thornton and then explain how it affects a graduate entering the firm out of university. I will then assess the pros and cons of this structure briefly and reflect upon my learning as a whole. Grant Thornton is an international accounting firm whose New Zealand branches are in Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch, so all of the main centres. Each firm has a number of departments, referred to as service lines. In Christchurch, the service lines are audit, tax and privately held business. Grant Thornton occupies a peculiar niche in the accounting industry in this country. They sit slightly below the Big Four firms, that is to say EY, PwC, Deloitte and KPMG. But they sit slightly above smaller firms like Staples Rodway. Geordie Hooft at the information evening was noted to say that they're technically in competition with no one because no one else lives in their ecological niche. This peculiar size exposes them to a vast array of businesses, ranging from small few-person operations to large manufacturers or stores. As a result, their staff are highly adaptable, wide-ranging, and able to communicate accounting to people at all levels. Their management structure is also far flatter than that of a Big Four firm as a result of their smaller size, ensuring that everybody knows everybody at least vaguely well, and information is easily shared around the entire firm as required. The audit service line carries out, unsurprisingly, auditing. This is apparently occasionally known as the phantom department, as the auditors often spend more time out of the office than in it, so no one is sure if they really exist from time to time. This is because most auditing is actually carried out at the business being audited, due to convenience of being able to talk to staff and managers easily, access hard copies of financial records, and stocktake inventories if required. Grant Thornton offers a range of audit services depending on the size or role of the firm, including standard compliance, fraud protection and investigation, and trust account audits. Additionally, a small number of senior auditors will carry out forensic auditing of businesses that have collapsed or are on the verge of collapse, which goes to show the vast specialised nature of the staff they have available. The tax service line helps businesses with meeting their tax obligations and structuring their operations to minimise the amount of tax they have to pay. Because let's face it, tax accountants get paid large amounts of money in return for saving a firm an even larger amount of money. This service line is usually able to spend more time in the office, and telephone, email and other electronic communication is more common. With that said, travel and face-to-face meetings are reasonably common. This is a broad, far-reaching and very, very complex branch of accounting, and it can get extremely situational when trying to maximise savings depending on the size, structure and infrastructure of the client. As a result, Grant Thornton's tax department is very good at analysing a specific entity relatively quickly and for maximum advantage. The advisory service line is arguably the most diverse aspect of Grant Thornton's business, as it essentially handles everything not covered by the first two. This includes offering advice on complying with changes in laws, streamlining business processes, managing risks, and being able to identify valuable business opportunities as they arise. So on top of the usual standard accounting knowledge that is required, Grant Thornton's advisory staff also have to have a broad knowledge of the industries that their clients work in and how these industries behave in response to others. Regardless of the role, Grant Thornton, along with every other accounting firm we have seen, have immediately and frequently stressed that they are not traditional accountants. That is to say, they work long hours in an office cubicle wearing a suit and don't interact with anybody unless they absolutely have to. Instead, there is a huge focus in modern accounting on getting to know the client and their business and using accounting as more of a tool to generate a desirable outcome for the business, rather than the end result of your interaction with an accounting firm being a stack of financial reports and a goodbye, see you next year, unless you go into receivership before then. As a graduate approaching a firm like Grant Thornton, there are many options available to you. Grant Thornton hires mostly in the audit and tax service lines. While speaking to the graduate who had been in an audit role for 2 weeks and brought along to the information evening for some reason, I learned that he had interacted with the client almost immediately and was already travelling up and down the country doing various jobs. A firm traditionally retains its graduates for 3 years while they attain their chartered accountancy qualification. After that, the graduates will aim to move up the chain to further their careers. It is at this point that what is known as churn occurs. Churn is the turnover in staff that a business incurs over time. Most accounting firms fully expect to lose most, if not all, of their graduate students after they have attained their chartered accountancy qualification. While some will remain with the firm and climb the corporate ladder or corporate lattice, or whatever it's referred to this week, most will elect to move on. Fortunately for a graduate from Grant Thornton, the structure of Grant Thornton is an international one. New Zealand's Chartered Accountant qualification, regulated by CARNS, Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand, is recognised in many other countries, most notably the UK. This means that graduates are able to transfer to other Grant Thornton locations. In fact, at least 2 of the people I spoke to have done just that, moving from the UK to New Zealand or vice versa for a change of lifestyle. This provides the opportunity to take part in the OE that many of us missed out on by going to university instead, while also furthering our careers. They are not limited to Grant Thornton either, and can move to a huge number of accounting firms internationally. Alternatively, they may move into a different industry altogether, as chartered accountants are in demand across almost all forms of business and government, including construction entities such as Fulton Hogan, Audit New Zealand, Treasury, and the IRD, and hundreds of others besides. There are pros and cons of the arrangement I described earlier. That is to say, Grant Thornton's 3 distinct service lines. The arrangement of an accounting firm in this fashion is the most effective method of ensuring efficiency for a number of reasons. It allows like-minded accountants who have selected a specific area in which to specialise to work together on projects, getting them done as quickly as possible due to being able to communicate in the same terms, on the same mental wavelengths, and often with similar past experience. It also minimises the interference an accountant might inadvertently receive from work outside his chosen specialty. It also makes delegation of tasks easier for a manager supervising all 3 areas. He can establish what form of financial advice a client requires and then direct them to the appropriate division of the firm. In this fashion, staff time is not wasted, which translates directly into lower fees for the client, which is vitally important when fees are usually 3 figures an hour and there are multiple competing firms who could cheerfully do the same job if you make a mistake. However, separation of these areas of the business into service lines does have its flaws. Most of them, as is so often the case with human beings, are based around communication. The separate service lines must make an effort to have a line of communication between them, especially for projects that involve more than one of them. Otherwise, they may run a significant risk of becoming uncoordinated in how they handle a particular case that requires the attention of more than one group, which could lead to significant delays client-side if they are waiting on reports and figures from multiple sources in order to make an appropriate decision. Again, this has the potential to cost clients, in turn costing large amounts of money for the firm. Additionally, care must be taken when dealing with clients or colleagues from outside a particular service line to make things easy to understand. While jargon is typically extremely useful for those operating within a specialty, it often only serves to confuse an issue for someone unfamiliar with the job or industry. While this is extremely true in things like engineering or the sciences, it is also particularly true in accounting, where many business owners are, willfully or otherwise, utterly unaware of the intricate inner workings of the accounting world. Minimizing the use of jargon and technical language allows this financial advising process to carry on more smoothly in a way that's mutually beneficial to both the client and Grant Thornton. As a learning exercise, this assignment has been extremely interesting, particularly as prior to this assignment and even this course, I had very little idea of the actual structure of an accounting firm prior to starting. The knowledge I have gained as a result is highly valuable for when I continue my job hunt both in the tail end of this year and the start of next year in earnest. Throughout the course of putting this presentation together, I received a lot of assistance from Michael Campion and him from I. Together we attended most of the information evenings and careers expos and all of that, and were able to sit down at his dining room table and take a large amount of information from a large amount of brochures, and most of all recalled who had said what to us at which evening from which firm. All of this was a useful reminder to A, write things down, and B, how to work in a team environment. As has been shown throughout this presentation, Grant Thornton functions as an accounting firm by streaming their professionals into distinct service lines. These service lines are highly specialised and efficient and can perform their specific duties, audit, taxation or advisory very effectively. The downside to this compartmentalised approach is that communication with outsiders can become an issue and measures need to be taken to ensure that the experts do not become stranded on their own small island where their vast accounting knowledge is of no use to anybody. I hope you learned something from this presentation today, and I thank you for your time.